listen to the Dale Earnhardt Jr. podcast, and they have some really high production values.
And that is how our podcast is starting.
Welcome to the Creative Trailers.
Welcome to the Creative Trailer Podcast. We're back. It's Chris, Nate, and me. And we have my dad on the show today. Calling in from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
How is Las Vegas right now?
Dude, it is gorgeous. There's a slight breeze, a little bit of clouds, and give me 1 second.
He's going to show us.
The current temperature. No, I wasn't going to show you. The current temperature is 62 outside.
Oh, that's really good.
I feel like I need to scoot over. So
it's been really nice the last few days.
It's like 40.
The high is 49 today.
Represent.
Yeah.
Is that why y'all are wearing sweatshirts and stuff?
Yes. And I think it's supposed to rain again later.
It's been raining all week. It's supposed to rain on Saturday.
It didn't rain yesterday though, so that was nice. That was very nice. That's a Phoenix.
Did you guys hear me cough just now?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, did you?
That's not coming out.
Oh, I thought I was trying to mute my mic.
I wasn't paying attention.
Maybe I saw it.
I didn't hear it.
No, we can't hear you anymore. No,
all right, cool. My mute button works.
He's just gonna mute himself. He's gonna self-edit. It's fine.
I'm a professional. I can handle that.
Yeah.
So, first things first, I feel like we need to talk about A Star is Born before you all nerd out with your nerd conversation later.
Did I need to talk about it?
I think we need to talk about it.
So here's the preface, though.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
We don't want to do any spoiler alerts.
No, it's fine. I've seen the other one. So
I haven't seen the other one actually.
There's like 3 other ones.
I think I was just in a very vulnerable place going to see it. First off, I don't usually watch movies like the first week they come out, so that was part of it. I was excited to see a movie like the first week it came out. But then I just went along for the emotional ride, like watching someone come to stardom and being scared to go out on the stage the first time. That's the first scene I cried at, by the way.
But here's the thing, though. Like, that whole sequence is in the trailer. And when I first saw the trailer, it got me. But I think maybe I go to the movies too often, so I became, like, desensitized to that scene. And, like, her, like, finally, like, covering her eyes and opening them to, like, see everyone.
Yeah.
Maybe I've seen the trailer too many times.
You just have to stop. You have to stop watching trailers and just give yourself to the director's vision, not the commercialization of the trailer.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned this. I don't know if it was in the podcast last time, but I've stopped watching trailers for that very reason.
That reason.
Really?
There you go.
Any of the Star Wars trailers come on, I literally cover my eyes. The only time I accept them is at the movies. I'll watch them. Because I want to be in that place that it used to be, where that's the only time you saw a trailer.
But that's the thing, like, I don't watch them at home. Like, I just go to the movies so often, I see them.
Well, that's just true.
So, maybe I need to start showing, like, up late to movies then. Maybe.
Yes. If you have reserved seating, showing up late to movies is not a problem.
But trailers are, like, the best part.
Well, yeah. But I guess if it takes you out of the emotional storytelling part of why you go to movies, then they're not a good thing to be, to be involved in before you see a movie.
To speak to that, I only saw the trailer for First Man probably like once, and I saw that movie twice in the last 48 hours, and I cried both times. So maybe we're onto something. Maybe you're all right.
Or maybe you're in the industry, you're in the biz, so like the shots of like live concerts and stuff don't appeal to you, but then there's still a journey that you haven't gone on, which would be like to go to space, and so that's maybe a dream and you're affected by it more.
Maybe.
Ooh, do you want to go to space?
Dude, space is great.
Space.
Our family loves space,
we're a weird aviation space family. It's the whole like driving to the freeway and you pass like the Boeing building.
Yeah,
every day. Part of life.
I'm so committed to it that I downloaded Microsoft Simulator to like practice my flying.
Nate does a lot of simulation games.
I don't know what my boys play, but I know for a long time Aaron was playing this, like you build your own rocket and you got to get the right
Kerbal Space Program.
Okay, the right design of the rocket with the right kind of fuel and the right thrust.
Yep.
So that you can actually leave the Earth's orbit successfully, And
then you got to like connect to the International Space Station.
Yes.
Do you blow up if it doesn't?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And then you see your people like falling to Earth.
But they're like cute little alien animation people, not like human people.
I mean, let's be fair. We don't want everyone to think you can just build your own rocket and get off the Earth without any like circumstances that are negative if you do it wrong.
Because the Earth is flat, so.
So, you haven't seen First Man yet, so I will refrain from this conversation until you see it later. Sorry about that. Continue.
Okay. Again, to add to the concept of not watching trailers, I went to a movie last night.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know me. I never go to movies.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't want to. I just can't. I didn't know what it was called, and I'd never seen a trailer for it.
You just showed up.
I just showed up because friends went, right? It's Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, I've seen previews. They intrigue me.
I've only seen a trailer on Twitter.
I, again, didn't see any previews. Showed up to this movie, blown away. I thought it was so good. I mean, it wasn't like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like, interstellar gravity cinema, but it was so well done in the plot. They really did a lot of story, like backstory, at the right times. It was an interesting story, and it caught you off guard a little bit. It was really good. So me and Gage walked out of that movie very excited, and then my wife and Allie, who were with us, were like, not excited. We're like, oh my god, that movie was so good. What did you guys think? And it was like,
crickets.
Yeah, it was a movie.
So,
anyways,
so you're talking about different movies for different audiences.
Yeah.
I was thinking about why I like The Star Is Born so much, and Tamala didn't. And I think part of it is also you got a middle-aged, washed-up dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like he's at the end of his career, but yet he has something to offer somebody younger just by acknowledging, oh, this person's really good. So there may be some midlife stuff going on in me that I connected with that guy. Just saying,
It's
that
more-
could be another part.
More of a relevant
That is
topic.
Yeah.
totally possible.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, I was entertained. I texted somebody that I had seen it previously, and I said I felt more during that movie than I have anything recently I've watched. So it was good for me.
There you go.
There it is.
There it is.
Well, you know what? That's all that matters. Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie?
Sure. I mean, I liked it. I didn't connect emotionally, but I spent money on it twice, so...
You're welcome.
Hollywood won there.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
So, random side note. Seth Meyers hosted SNL this weekend, and they did a digital short called A Frightening Tale, and they're like telling scary stories about the campfire. And they're like, Seth, like, what's your scary story? So Seth told a story about a random, like, friend he meets. And all this friend does is talk about film. Like, nonstop. Like, this whole, like, and, like, everyone's, like, agonizing over the story. Like, no, this is terrible. He won't stop talking. And so, like, so the whole point of it is, like, he's like, yeah, it's a curse, but I can't get rid of it, so I pass it on to someone. So he passes it off to, like, Becca Bennett's character. And the guy shows up, and he's like, hey, I just started a podcast on movies. Like, do you want to come and chat about some classic films with me? And I was like, I felt so attacked. I'm like, this is me.
They're calling you
it's too
out.
close to home.
They're calling me out. It was so like, well timed.
SNL is just like, is watching the podcast, and they're like, we need to do something
Whoa,
about
whoa,
this.
whoa. Listen, if SNL is watching our podcast or listening to our podcast and making fun of us,
We
I'm
made it.
not
We
going to
made
care.
it. We made
You have arrived. You have arrived.
From Prescott, Arizona.
There you go.
Cool.
But yeah, so
I do
literally cringed the whole time I watched it. It was funny. I was like, oh gosh.
I do like the visual that our listeners can't hear right now.
Yeah.
Of you guys in your wood paneled tech trailer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. This is this is a roll-in trailer. This is one that you would order to sit on a job site.
Yep.
sure, yeah, like a contractor trailer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it is indefinitely permanent. So it ain't going nowhere.
The Creative Trailer Diaries.
The Creative
Yeah.
Trailer. And we
Yes.
have to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Sarah,
Works well.
Sarah was a little bummed out that I stole the name. Sarah and I came up with that name for Instagram last year when it was us and then her and Jenny,
Who was the marketing team who
Yeah.
were also creative.
like social media and all this stuff. So,
Our graphics and stuff.
when
So
I
is there
tried-
going to be like a royalty discussion
I
or
don't-
something
I
like
don't
down the
know.
road?
No.
We haven't tweeted at her, so I don't think she
Sarah,
knows.
Sarah was like, "What did you call it?" I'm like, "Creative Trailer Diaries." She's like the hashtag, and I was like, "Yeah." It made sense.
You should say no, not like the hashtag, like the
don't know.
podcast.
Like the podcast.
Like the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
The one thing I am excited about that it's getting colder. I've noticed there's less woodpeckers. in
Yes.
our trailer.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, let's stop there.
Yeah.
I have heard Tamala has told me about these woodpeckers. She was in town a couple weeks ago, and like you literally can take the ceiling tiles
Yep.
that we would see in an office
Mhm.
off, and you can see like woodpecker nests and such.
No, so it's not woodpecker nests. They have been depositing acorns
Been stocking
into
Oh, okay.
Above Nate's desk.
No,
It's their winter.
everywhere.
Their winter.
Whole
But-
thing.
Yeah,
But
but they
Nate's is
can't.
open.
They
Yeah.
can't get in to the ceiling. So like we just have like all these acorns in our ceiling. And the other day I noticed like stuff just dropping from above my desk. I was like,
So they're able to deposit it, but then they can't go take the
Yes.
deposit away.
So
Yeah.
they peck on the side of our trailer,
Yeah.
and they created holes, and then they
Just big enough for the acorns.
yep,
Yeah.
and they shoot them through like hard because
Yeah.
the
I
holes
thought
like on one side.
I thought woodpeckers were smarter than that.
so did I until
Like I wouldn't be able to get to my food when I store it. Apparently, they didn't think that through.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they are, and we just don't know it yet.
we will find out soon.
in a couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, so Nate's ceiling tile is no longer there, so like a week after he removed it, he wasn't in the office, but I looked up and like I just heard the sound and I saw like 5 fall onto his desk.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they haven't been depositing. So I don't know if they lost their jobs or
Where they realize that they're not getting anything back.
they're going to a different bank.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
Wow.
Here's the worst part about it, and this is probably gonna gross some people out, and that's okay. So in my side of the office, there's it's not quite the paneling, like the foam paneling or the board paneling. It's like a grid, like so that way you could access like an access point, so you
Sure.
can see up into the rafters through mine, like right above my desk. But the holes are just big enough for the maggots that latch onto the acorns
Oh.
to fall through that grate onto my desk.
yes.
That
So-
is disgusting.
Every once in a while, you'll see this little worm-like thing crawling across my desk, and anytime I see that, I literally dump whatever coffee I'm drinking and start over. Like I don't care how
Yeah.
fresh it is.
Something's fallen in your
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah.
I usually have a bad gag reflex, but it didn't kick in right now, so I'm
Okay.
feeling good about that.
Okay.
Dude.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
so the other thing I'm thinking of is you're saying this publicly now.
Yeah.
Is there like any kind of building inspector involved that might come in and
I hope.
have you guys
so.
deal with that?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Like,
I
are we
hope so, too.
are we trying to find a solution right now by saying it publicly?
No, our facilities team is aware, and they will.
But we
'Cause
might
I
do
do
some
actually-
tag some way.
Get some silicone, like sealant, and just like start sealing up those woodpecker holes.
Yeah.
Until they go back and do it again.
See, now I want to find out. There has to be something humane that can be created or is created that you can like put on the wood that the woodpeckers won't want to make holes in.
Yeah.
So-
like hot sauce.
He
Ooh.
Yeah.
Habanero.
Okay.
When they-
Let's talk. Has
when
this
they-
been tried yet?
No, we haven't done
We
that.
are making hot sauce
when they
now,
got
though.
their backyard in Vegas, they have bird feeders now.
Yeah.
So he'll feed the birds every day. Like
Ooh.
that's their thing. So it's really funny that he's very intrigued.
We want to get bird feeders for Riley.
Yeah. So there's always birds in the backyard.
What kind of
Well,
birds are coming
Birds are
out?
nice. I have a bird feeder.
Yeah.
in
What
my
kind of
backyard.
birds?
I'm sorry, Mom was just talking to me since it looks like I missed a couple
That's
sentences
fine.
that were key
We
there.
already let everybody know that you have
That
bird
were
feeders.
key there.
but you can
Yeah.
tell us again.
Gosh, finches. We have
Yeah.
some little like yellow and blue finches. Nothing
the
too
hum-
big. Hummingbirds for sure.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
got a
tons of
hummingbird feeder and the other kind. But my favorite part is the big pigeons. They kind of sit up on the roof and they just watch the finches. And the finches drop seed when they're eating. And as soon as the finches leave, the big pigeons come down and they just eat everything that the finches dropped on the ground. So
Yeah.
it's like we have a whole what do you call it? Man, I wish-
ecosystem.
an ecosystem based on the bird feeder. Like it's not just the finches; it's also other birds that are taking advantage of it.
I wonder if the finches are getting bullied. Like, hey, you better drop some of that food.
No, I mean maybe, but I would imagine there was a couple birds early on that felt like they were a little larger than the finches, but not as large as the pigeons. And I feel like they kind of moved in on the bird feeder, but they were too big to bounce on it, so they didn't come around as much. But like it was like they were trying to push the finches away.
Yeah.
But they weren't able to get to the food, so they probably are finding food somewhere else. The pigeons seem to just be chill and relax and wait for the finches to finish eating. They come in and just pick up the scraps.
There you go. Bird feeders.
There it is.
There you go.
That's the
I
process.
was-
I'm also
I was waiting
I'm also
for that.
old, right? If I hang out with bird feeders, that means I'm old, right?
Oh man.
No, once you move up to parks, I think that's when, like, when you're feeding birds at parks.
Yeah.
That's
when you're
when.
sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Like this totally defeats the purpose of what we're doing, a podcast. But I've just switched my camera over,
Yeah,
and I'm
so
walking into the backyard.
We'll narrate.
And
We're looking at Billy's backyard.
There's the bird feeder. There, it's just a general hand painted bird feeder that you've seen for like hummingbirds, which looks like I need to refill it. And then I definitely need to refill that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one looks like a little gazebo.
But see down here, see all the seed on the ground?
Yeah.
That's what the pigeons eat, and they just kick it right there on the roof line, and then wait for the finches to leave and come out.
I can't help but imagine what kind of conversation they're having, kicking it.
Yeah.
In the house.
They're like, give it 3 more minutes. They'll be full, and we can come down. And
should we go now or no?
No, not yet. Yeah, we don't want to overstay our welcome.
That's great.
Wow, this podcast has been really a lot of topics already this week.
Oh yeah,
that's how we roll. We just keep going.
Times.
It really truly is just a conversation.
Yeah. So, but I think we're all like itching to hear about Billy's new sound system.
Yes. Okay. So let's lead into this segment of the podcast, and Tamla's gonna hate it.
That's fine.
So as y'all know, our listeners know, we are the production team here at UCYC. This is not a UCYC podcast.
No.
But
not a sponsor.
So the opinions are not that of the UCYC camp or
yes,
establishment.
this is true. So let it be said that this cannot be used against us in the court of UCYC. So therefore, we are not 100% satisfied in our equipment that we currently operate our production stuff in. So Billy has been very recently one of our advocates and mentors, I would say.
Yeah.
In just letting us ask him questions. So then, one day, we just see that he just totally upgraded all of his equipment. And
After a picture, that was the best part.
I basically fell on the floor.
Yeah.
In agony.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I didn't give you guys a heads up. You just saw it on social media.
No.
I
knew it was coming.
I didn't pass it on though.
You didn't tell us?
I didn't think about it. Okay.
Every time.
Tamla came and visited the weekend after we put it in.
The whole week leading up to the photo on Instagram, I knew they were doing the install. And it just didn't cross my mind. Hi, Aaron. Welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Aaron?
It was his birthday yesterday.
They're saying hello. Say hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Birthday shout out to the adults now.
Happy birthday.
Happy 18. Happy 18, my dude.
Happy 18, man.
Yeah.
Adult now. I'm legally responsible for my crimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't do any more of those.
Don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid.
Yeah. Juvy's way different than the real hard lockup situation.
Yeah, don't say anything else about any crimes you may have committed.
Yeah,
that's right.
Sounds good.
My dad called him yesterday and goes, "Oh, you're 18. Are you registered to vote?"
Oh, yes.
And he says, "Yes, I am." And my dad says, "Well, make sure you vote for the right party. I'm not going to tell you which one."
So this is the grandpa whose email is at Reagan.com.
I wonder.
To paint a picture.
Man, really leaves that up to the imagination.
Oh my goodness!
You guys have met my grandpa.
Well, anyway,
Yes.
My grandpa is very similar to that.
Oh yeah.
I think he just so he has the American flag in his front lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My mom was here this weekend. And she told me that he just added a flag that makes people really, really upset. I'm not gonna say which one.
Oh no.
Wow.
But he is 100% doing it to spite his neighbors who do not support that flag. I'm like, Grandpa, you're gonna get in trouble, dude. Like, I'm all for it. Just don't get hurt.
Your grandpa kind of sounds like Gran Torino, like the movie.
Yeah, truly.
Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn.
Way nicer.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Back to technical.
Sorry. Back to tech talk.
So, you upgraded your system. Let's talk a little bit about what you had before, some of the struggles you were having, and where your mindset was when coming up with solutions and where you landed.
All right. So I actually just came to this church that I currently work at almost not quite a year ago, about 11 months ago. And they'd had Midas Pro 6 at front of house and Midas Pro 2 for monitors. And I think it had been in there about 8 years. They were using Waves as well as part of it. We were using Waves as well. And there's just I could have probably powered through some of the intricacy of how you mix on a Midas. It's just kind of different. It doesn't seem as intuitive. You got to dig around to do what you want to do. And but beyond that, there had been a couple of incidences before I got here where like the system just kind of froze up. While I was here, it happened a couple times where we started a service and I lost my left main cluster. And We're not 100% sure if it was Midas or if it was Waves or it was just how they were interacting together. It was kind of clunky the way they were interfacing. So it could have been a little bit of both. But when leadership starts seeing like, oh man, our service almost didn't happen, they start asking why and questions. And we had talked to Midas, we talked to Waves, and they were all kind of pointing the finger at each other. But once you get kind of an old computer after a few years, software changes happen and it doesn't work the way it did because the hardware isn't matching the software isn't matching hardware, and you're like, I guess I just got to upgrade. It's kind of like with the iPhones, right? After the technology moves along with something like a phone and upgrades happen, your 4-year-old phone doesn't work quite the same. You're like, well, I guess I must upgrade. So we were kind of in that boat. I didn't think it was going to happen as soon as it did, but they asked us to put a plan together. So we kind of have a 3-phase plan. This was the first phase of that. And it basically dealt with control surfaces and infrastructure for how we get audio around our main room and onto our video broadcast.
All right. And then
So
that landed with a very, in our minds, simple solution. It's kind of a given when you want to talk about interfacing a whole room together.
Yeah. So I have a lot of experience with Yamaha consoles, and they just seem to be more intuitive. Dante's been around for a while, which is their kind of, it's not their proprietary way to get audio in and out of systems, but it's definitely one they've latched onto. We also were wanting to make sure we had plenty of room for growth in the future. So we could have gone with a couple of consoles, the CL5s, and just stayed on a Dante network. But during the same time we were going through this process, they introduced the PM7, which had about 99% of the features a Yamaha PM10 would have, but a much less price point.
Yeah.
And so we looked into that, and we initially went into it where, let's see if we can make this work budget-wise. If we can, awesome. If not, we'll go to the CL5s. But there's also this part of us that we're thinking we have a decent sound system, like concert quality sound system. Somebody at some point put in the time and effort to get a Midas, which at the time was not a cheap board, because they kind of set some standards with the kind of gear they put in there.
Yeah.
So we didn't necessarily want to take any steps back, but we wanted to at least stay on the same page that we'd been. And we could have done that with CL5s, but we also were looking at the future, and the PM7 was new, where the CL5s have been out for 7 or 8 years as well. So that technology is going to come to an end as well. So that's where we landed. We did a Yamaha PM7 at front of house, and it's on a fiber network for audio coming from
you're running fiber. I didn't know that part.
So this is where it gets a little complicated, even though you said it was simple. It is a little complicated. To use, the one nice thing about the PM7 is you can use Dante cards, which basically allow you to plug a microphone into the system, and it converts it to audio over IP, basically, or audio over network. With the PM7, the other upgrade is you can use a different kind of pre that Yamaha makes in conjunction with Rupert Neve, and they're called Silk pre's, and they just give you some emulation of an actual like Neve pre that you would have had in the studio. I'm getting really technical, and I apologize, but if you're listening, enjoy.
Sorry, I'm drooling. Let me wipe that real quick. Yeah.
That was like Chris's impressed look. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So we have. It's okay. So if you're following along, we have 64 channels of the Silk pre. That is where we ingest all of our stage audio from. And so that gives us room to grow. I think we only had 48 before, so we upgraded our channel count as part of this. That audio comes over fiber to the PM7. At the PM7, it gets converted to Dante. And from there, then it gets pushed out into the Dante network, which provides sound to the CL5, which is mixing monitors. And the one thing I love the most about what we did is we put a little Yamaha rack mixer like MX7. It sounds rack mixer, and it's not fader. It's just like the brain. And then we're running it via software using Waves LV1 software.
Okay.
And what's happening there is if I wanted to, I could pick off all 64 channels of audio and have my own mix going back in video. But that's kind of cumbersome, and we wanted a little more control of that. So I'm feeding it a band vocal stem, a speech stem, and a room mic stem. And then I'm just going to say his name because I don't know if anybody knows him. Chris Gilly, who works with House Right Productions.
Tamlin knows him. So.
Yes, he is an audio and production genius with a lot of time in not just church but corporate environments. For the last 20 years, he's been trying to figure out ways to automate audio for video, especially for churches, that maybe you don't have a complete separate feed and a complete separate person to do that mix, but to kind of automate it. And so he's using some really great plugins from Waves to take my feeds and then kind of tell them, hey, if the band gets this loud, duck the room mics. If someone is talking, raise the room mics to this level. If no one's talking, raise the room mics to this. So it's kind of auto mixing those room mics in with the feeds I'm giving them. And 2 weeks in, we've been very happy. I've made a couple adjustments so it doesn't quite sound as echoey or reverby as we started out with. But it's really nice to know. For a while, I was adding room mics in live from the front of house position to try to give it some life. Now it's doing that seamlessly and automatically. So there's still a few tweaks we can do, but basically because we were able to get everything into the digital world, we're using Cat5 cables now to get audio to our video room, to the stage. And Johnny, a lot of times who's mixing stage monitors, he has control of all 64 channels for the people on stage. Now, what's interesting that I didn't know is that audio is coming back via Cat5 to my PM7, getting reconverted to fiber, and then coming out my stage box directly to the transmitters. So there's a lot of converting going on that if we were Dante only, we wouldn't have to do. But the flexibility of the board allows us to do that.
That is...
Dude.
Hold on, let my brain catch up real quick.
Yeah. I feel like we just took this podcast to like this whole uber tech level that we didn't need to. Here, let me give you some feedback though.
Okay. Yeah.
Whenever you're that's more layman like. Whenever you're in a church environment, I mean it's expensive, and you're using resources that people have given to the church, and the church leadership has made a decision, and you're moving forward with it. And I have no problem being able to justify why we do what we do for the greater good of the church and the community and the message that we're trying to convey. But sometimes when you're in the middle of that, you're like, man, I hope people are noticing this, and it's just not the geeks that are sitting here going, oh, this is awesome. Yeah. Well, the first night we did it, let me also say this. I've never been really happy with our Meyer rig since I've been there. And so...
which is also an older Meyer.
It's about an 8-year Mica rig, yeah.
So
and it's probably
broken in.
Yeah, and it's probably had a lot of people tweaking on it. And one of the things, because we're starting over, is Chris is really good with Meyer and just processing, and he does a lot of work with Meyer. So he was like, while he was here, I was like, hey, it doesn't do me any good to have all this new front end stuff if the back end is still maybe not quite right. So we spent 3 hours on a Thursday as part of our install, just kind of retuning the room and getting the speakers more where we want them. And it was like we took 2 blankets off the speakers. Like the high end just came in, and not harsh, just smooth and the way it should sound. And then that, as weird as it sounds, the relationship between the low end and the high end, we were always struggling with. So I was always killing low end and boosting high end on my inputs, which just made everything sound weird. And now it's like on my lavs, my headset mics, I literally have a high pass at like 180 and 2 or 3 little dips in there. No compression, no other processing, and it sounds great at like 75 decibels.
Wow.
So before, nice. Yeah, before we were like over processing everything. Yeah, right, exactly. So all that to say, Saturday night we have our first service, and 2 of the people in leadership that kind of knew we were going through all this came up to me immediately, and in 2 different conversations with me, they both described it as, dude, it's like AM to FM. And to me, that made perfect sense based on what I was hearing and based on where they were with technology. And then our musicians on stage were just saying like everything sounds cleaner, crisper, not as muffled or muddied. So all in all, I was getting feedback almost immediately from people either using it as an end user on stage or people listening to in the service, and they were hearing the difference. So that's all we could ask for as we move forward. We'll still tighten it up and tweak some more, but we're definitely light years ahead of where we were a few weeks ago.
Is this guy expensive? Can you come?
Chris Gilly?
Would he do it for free?
Yeah, he loves ministry. I know that. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I'm really excited. We did a tour of your church a while back, almost a year ago.
It was
April.
Yeah. Okay, a little less than.
Time flies.
Time flies. Yeah. It was
April was crazy,
especially after summer.
We went to 3 different places.
And as we were walking around, we got to see it. I mean, we heard a little bit of your heart in what you were dealing with and where you wanted to go then. So it's really cool to hear the stories of how that's playing off for you. So that's really awesome. Really glad that that's working, and I cannot wait to see it and hear it myself.
I got tracks, so you can come mix.
Oh, dude, yes, please.
That'd be awesome.
That would be phenomenal.
We're on
This
the
is-
podcast.
this is my
with
wife.
Dad. This
Hello.
is Brittany.
How you
No,
doing?
Brittany, he says hi. I don't think you can hear him.
I can't.
This is my dad, Billy.
No.
So,
Oh, it's 12.
Okay.
Lunchtime.
It's cold.
It is cold.
so Billy, I don't know if you know, but we're pregnant again.
Congratulations.
Chris is pregnant.
So, yeah.
Chris is pregnant.
No. So
That should be on another podcast.
it should be another
If,
podcast.
if that's true.
It is true. It is true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It would take longer
Yeah,
to.
I am pregnant.
I was also very careful when my wife was pregnant to say, I'm pregnant, we're
oh yeah,
pregnant.
we're
Because,
pregnant.
like, what part are you pregnant?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I really
This is true. Anyways,
Oh, man.
so yeah, no, we're really excited. Really glad you were able to grow in that, and can't wait to see it. So, being from Vegas,
We're talking about the.
Uh,
I
you
hear
know,
the airplanes.
oh gosh, yes.
Do you hear my airplanes?
I hear
Yeah.
the airplanes.
Here, I'll go
This guy
outside.
bored.
I'll go outside to get louder. 'Cause
Got it.
we live in the Nellis flight path.
yeah, nice. You get to hear all the big ones pass by.
What is that, Aaron? F-15 flying over.
F-15. Families and engineers.
There it
Good
is.
times, man. I wish we all had a video. We could be a lot more interesting. But you guys need to step up the game, I guess. Get through
Yeah.
the podcast, it'll become a video
They brought
Ba-
podcast.
baby
We'll get
steps.
there.
We
We'll
still
get
got to
there.
figure out how to get the signal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do this thing. Cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So what I was just gonna say is,
From Vegas.
being from Vegas, growing up, there's tons of churches, awesome churches.
Yeah. Yeah.
3 larger churches that people know about, being Canyon Ridge, Central, and Crossing, all kind of planted from the same family.
Yes.
So
for sure.
So I was able to kind of see where the development of Canyon Ridge has gone. So it's really awesome to see that it's finally in a place that feels really good. Not that it wasn't before, but there's definitely a struggle point at some
Yeah.
point.
I would definitely say we just celebrated our 25th anniversary in February. So I came from a church that was over 120 years old. So just from that standpoint, it seems short, but also you find out very quickly in 20 or 25 years, if you're not constantly looking forward or looking to what's next, you can become stagnant. And so, we probably see that in our lives at different points, but I feel like for churches or even not just churches, companies, corporations, they reinvent themselves to what the needs are. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you keep your mission in focus. But maybe you're going to use different tools or different ways to connect with people who are hurting, people who are broken, and so that they can get and hear the message of Christ. See, now we're going the other direction. We're getting all serious now with the gospel. But from technology to mission.
I'm sorry, Tamala. I'm really
Sorry. I won't be
We're
on the
gonna get
podcast
like 5
every week.
views for
It's
this.
all good.
It's gonna be really funny when people look at
Watch
it,
half of it, and then they just
they
Yeah.
get into it, and they're like, "Whoa, this
And
is
they're
really
like-
serious."
This is
Yeah,
really
no,
They're
good.
like, I'm out.
This is
But
really great stuff.
I think they go hand in hand. Your methods and your mission
Yeah.
have to be something that people, and it's not like we want to cater to people's needs, but if we can't meet their needs, then we're not going to be effective. And so that's definitely, I think, a season that we're going through, moving forward with new leadership, things like that. And so I'm excited to be in on the ground floor.
Yeah, it is really exciting. Thoughts like that, the understanding ministry like that is definitely why I think we do what we do, because we get to partner with people like you do, or like you on a larger scale for churches in Phoenix, churches in Vegas, churches in California. So it's really cool to hear that that's what's happening on the ground, outside of our little bubble.
Yeah.
UCYC.
So what's the next movie you guys are going to see?
Bringing it back.
Great question. They're going to
Oh.
Halloween tonight.
Harkins is doing their Tuesday night movie classic. And
When I was
Halloween
little,
tonight.
like I mean, we celebrated Halloween, but like I always felt bad about it. Like I felt guilty because
Yeah.
I was a Christian.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only thing you could celebrate was fall festival.
Fall
Right.
Festival,
Yeah, right. The
Harvest,
fall
Fall
carnival.
Harvest.
So I was
Yeah.
not like that growing up, but we're experiencing that with Riley now because her school doesn't do it, like
Mhm.
because she goes to Christian preschool. So
Right.
it's like, oh, hey, it's Orange Day on the 31st.
On the 31st.
Like, well,
Wear
come
your
on.
What's the deal with the 31st in Vegas? Is it like Nevada
It's
Day?
Nevada Day as well.
Okay.
So that's something I don't know if you've
Oh,
heard about.
You
I
guys
knew
get
the
to
boys-
experience it this year.
I knew the boys were celebrating Nevada Day. I didn't know it was also on Halloween.
It is technically on now. The school district has usually made it Monday or Friday to kind of.
Oh, okay. My family's looking at me like I'm crazy, but the celebration is not necessarily on the
No,
31st, but that's the
correct.
official day.
Yes, that's the official.
All right.
It's changed a bunch.
It's
I don't know,
complicated.
Nevada's lying
It's-
to me, but yeah, we usually for school and staff development days it's Monday or Friday.
Is Nevada Day based on statehood, or is it just a randomly
Yes.
picked day?
Yes, it is based on
Okay.
when it became state.
All right.
So
Do you know one thing I had to learn moving here? I am half Mexican, so I pronounce a lot of things sometimes with a Mexican accent.
Uh-huh.
Like I say tacos maybe
Yeah.
instead of tacos.
yeah,
Or
more examples,
Are you
please.
gonna talk?
yeah, or can we go to San Juan Capistrano instead of
Ew.
San Juan Capistrano?
Yeah,
You know, so I
Which
came
sounds
to,
right.
How do you say Nevada?
so I came to Nevada, and I would say it Nevada.
ooh,
And, man,
that
that
is
lasted about a
blasphemy
week.
where we come from.
Yeah, that lasted like a week, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna say it like Nevada.
Yeah, you gotta stretch that A.
And now you
Nevada.
call California Cali, and it's just
Yeah,
freaking.
I used to
Yeah.
live in Cali.
It's
Is
the
that weird
worst.
for you?
It
Is
was
that
really
weird?
bad. I hate.
Oh, her whole family just
Can you
freaked
hear
out.
my family
Literally,
yelling at me
the
right now?
battle
It's going
when I
crazy.
came to Prescott, like when people like calling it Cali, and I'm like it's California. Like you say SoCal, but it's if you're gonna say California, say California.
Oh,
Like,
you're from Cali.
it literally just
I mean,
makes
that
me
makes sense. I
cringe.
don't go to, from Navi. You
From
know.
Nappy. And like eventually I learned like it's a battle I'm not gonna win, so I gave up on it, but oh it kills me.
That's funny. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's like such a important thing. But I get it though, because we have Nevada and
Yeah.
not Nevada or Nevada.
I was born in Nebraska, lived in Texas most of my all through high school, and then I moved to Cali, so I'm not offended.
There's a city in Iowa called Nevada.
For
Is it
real?
spelled the same way?
Spelled the exact same way. So here's how the story goes that I know is my dad's from Minnesota, so he used to work. He would sometimes drive a little bit out of state to do some jobs,
Mhm.
and so he stayed in Nevada, and he got into an argument with the person at the front desk of this hotel about the pronunciation of the town, and the guy from Iowa freaked out on my dad, who grew up in Vegas his whole life. You know, hey, so is there anything to do in Nevada? And he goes, I don't know. I've never been. This is Nevada. So,
Oh man.
Yeah.
freaked out on him for it.
I love people like that.
Nevada probably existed. Nevada, Iowa
Yeah.
probably existed before Nevada state.
Yeah.
Now
Can't
you're
even
like
say it right.
tripping yourself up right
Yeah,
now.
Nevada the state.
Yeah.
So that guy was really offended. They stole our name
Yeah.
for a state.
And then they
Yeah.
said it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nevada means snow-capped mountains. I don't see any of those in Vegas. Just talking.
bro.
There was a frost line.
Except for Mount
Like-
Charleston. Okay. I get that.
I would say
That's
Mount
there.
Charleston. I was
Yeah.
about to say I see that from my house. So that was the most shocking thing moving to Nevada. I'm going to say it that way. What? Don't at me. Is that what we say?
Yes,
Don't at me.
don't at me.
Nevada. Don't at me. Anyhow, I was shocked how much the mountains play
Don't ask
into
me.
what you experience in
Yes.
Las Vegas.
Yeah. It's all
like
about
when
the
you
visual.
when you come into the strip, you kind of notice you flew over some mountains,
Mhm.
but then you don't notice it. Man, you get outside the strip, there's mountains every
Everywhere.
direction.
Yeah.
And 35 minutes from my house, we went up a couple weeks ago. There was a snow line we could see, and this was like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm expecting and hoping for snow up there. Again,
Yeah,
to be
it'll-
able to go play in and see.
It'll happen. They got a nice little ski resort up there. You can go skiing, tubing if you want to. things like
Lee
that.
Canyon, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the cool thing about growing up in Vegas is that you learn your landmarks. Like, oh man, what side of the city do you live on? Oh, I'm in Summerlin. Cool. Just follow the Red Mountains and you'll get there. Or like if you live in Henderson, just follow Black Mountains. Got the
Mhm.
towers on top of it.
Yes.
So you can always know where to go. Or I'm on the east side, so you follow Sunrise Mountain. So you've got all these mountains for landscape and direction. I go down to Phoenix.
It's the same thing. You
It
just
is
don't know the
not.
mountains.
Phoenix, okay, Phoenix.
You don't know the mountains.
I
Phoenix
can't-
has mountains, but I just feel like Vegas.
But I can't see them because it's so far away.
Vegas Phoenix is just much more condensed in the valley, whereas like when I was in Phoenix last night, I was on the 303 heading to Surprise. And I was like, they have mountains. They're just really stretched out.
So
super stretched
Phoenix
out.
and Vegas,
Nate
like,
has something to say finally. Here we go.
yeah. So Vegas is like a small bowl of pho. Like, you don't want that. Like, and Phoenix is like the big bowl that like you want them to give you a pho, and that I want.
That's what Phoenix is.
I want the bigger bowl. Sorry.
Phoenix is like all you can eat pho.
Yeah.
Vegas is like one serving.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is Phoenix is a big bowl of pho.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Dude, Phoenix all the way. But
I did notice that because I think that's like quickest I've been to Vegas and Phoenix like in 2 weeks, and I was like, the mountains are here. They're not as cool.
yeah.
Also, they're farther away.
The farther part, it's flatter.
So talk to me about why, Tamala, you feel. I read some of your tweets. If you're not following me, what are you at Tamala Page now?
Yes, at Tamala Page.
At Tamala Page on your Twitter handle.
My tweet last night was
About how you.
Let me just read the tweet.
Oh yeah, just
Let me
read it.
find the tweet.
Oh, I almost called Barnum and told him like, Barnum, we need to talk to Tamla. Something's going on.
Yeah, like are you
So
leaving?
strong.
Are you leaving? Do I need to know something?
For the record,
So-
I'm not on Twitter, so I
So
don't know
my
these things.
tweet, I tweeted a lot last night. Anya Downs
that was just someone
responded to
leaving
my
the
tweet.
Creative
Harkins
Diary.
responded to my tweet. I was very active, and I was being talked to by many people, so it was good. I tweeted 17 hours ago. Every time I'm in Phoenix or Vegas, I feel better. It's like my body is trying to tell me it's not meant to be in a small town.
Oh gosh.
But Chance,
I got so scared.
Chance liked the tweet, so Chance is in agreement with me.
Yeah, but I know that about Chance.
Do you know one thing
I
I
don't
know
know.
about Tamala though is that she's an introverted extrovert. She's
Yeah.
kinda like
Oh
me.
yeah.
So we
So
actually
she likes the small town, but yesterday she liked the big town.
No, here's the thing. Chris and I have actually
Tomorrow.
talked about this. We're talking about if I were to be up in Springs, how it wouldn't go well, because there's not a whole lot of people around. Not that I would hang out with
No,
them.
yeah.
I just like to know they're there. So
Yeah.
I like knowing there's options in Phoenix and Vegas
Yes.
to do things. I just won't
That's
always
true.
do them.
Here's what I think along the lines of what I said, because we're deciding who's going to go in what camps next summer. And for the past 2 summers, it's been the same, so I'm ready to switch it up to kind of change the flavor a little bit for each culture of our camps. And I'm like, I can't put Tamla in Springs. And everybody's like, why? Like, she'd do so good. I'm like, oh, no. Like, she'd do great, but she would die.
Yeah.
They're like, why? I was like, because it's so far away. Like,
Yeah.
Too many
but
trees.
isn't she introvert? Well, yeah.
But she likes having
But
options.
she likes having people around to take that attention. Like,
That you get that 100% for me. Like I like being by myself in my house. No, but I know that like my wife's here, one of my kids are here, maybe they're in their room or whatever.
Sarah's
when
been
I'm-
gone for like a week. And
when
I'm
I'm
going
in-
crazy.
Yeah. When I'm in my house by myself, I'm like, all right, I gotta go find somebody just to be in the room with.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure there's like some kind
Sully!
of insecurity about being left behind or something. I have no idea.
For me, I don't think it's like a left behind thing. I just like knowing that, like, if I decided to talk, there'd be someone there to listen.
yeah.
If I
get that.
decided to go to Top Golf, there's a Top Golf. Like, it's just.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's
Did
just
you go to Topgolf
you don't
without
go-
us, Tamla?
I didn't. I drove past it because
You thought
The
about
new
it,
one.
didn't you?
the one that's by the Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah.
Because I went up the 101
It is
to
so
join
nice.
17. Yeah, it was
The
there.
one,
and I'm
the
like,
one by the Indian casino?
yeah.
and
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
I passed
oh, they
that.
have screens. They have screens on that one too.
Not that. It's on the
It's by the football
west
stadium.
side.
We have 2?
We have 4.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
The,
We have
the
4.
valley's big, bro.
Wait. Phoenix has 4 Top Golfs.
Because it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
big. Because it's
We
a
got
big
4
bowl of
top-
pho.
It's a big
It
bowl
needs
of
4
fun.
Because it's a big
We
bowl
need
full of pho.
4 top golf.
Dude, but no, where it is right now is like the new one because
It's in
so last
Prime.
year I went to Cardinal Stadium to go see U2. Actually, I saw them like it was a year from now. But anyway,
Where are your keys?
so I have my keys.
Yeah,
so
okay,
I
yeah,
went
it
and like where we parked was literally like the plot of land, like where the Top Golf is, more or less.
Oh,
and I was
gotcha.
like, this is new. And I'm like, this is so perfect because like I can come down for a weekend. I can have tickets to the game, but I can go to Top Golf beforehand and like there's the
So you're
resort.
saying you're going to go to Topgolf without us?
no,
keep
We've
no,
been
on saying
talking about
that.
this, Tamla. We're supposed to go together.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying
No,
I
it's-
happened to drive past the new one
Billy-
last
Top Golf,
night, and I thought
Top Golf
about it.
is always a team building event. Like
It
you have
is.
to take your team.
Always.
Oh, yeah.
Just golf in general.
I'm not gonna go without. Well, you guys went golfing without me, so
That's
I don't,
not my fault.
I don't want
You
to
were
open.
invited.
No, I wasn't invited. I was out of town.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Let's go. I have to train the
Oh, I
interns on
can't do
lighting.
tomorrow.
You
What
gave
are
me
you
a
doing?
job
What are you
tomorrow.
doing?
I have groups
Thursday?
in all weekend.
What are you doing
See,
this
I'm
afternoon?
inviting you. You can't go.
But
Creative.
also as her father, I also know she's like, but I it's not in my budget right now. So.
True.
That's the next thing
Yeah.
she's gonna say.
Shit.
Yeah.
I was
The,
gonna
the,
say-
the money
I-
I
She can
would
go to
have,
movies.
because I
She
budget
goes on
for that.
$5
That's
Tuesdays. Yeah.
I actually, it's not this
I
weekend.
know you did it.
I
know you
spent
did
so
it
much
this week.
money at the movie theaters this weekend.
But now you're gonna eat peanut butter and jelly all week.
I already went grocery shopping, so I'm good.
Perfect.
I,
Must be nice.
On top of that.
The other thing
Budget
is, like,
game.
she says, I want to live in a city, but I also know she signed a 1-year lease on an apartment.
Let's backtrack to
So I
Chris's.
have her a little bit.
Let's
Yeah.
go backtrack
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Chris's question.
You
of
should get her
I'm
on a
leaving.
contract too.
I have a lease until September 16th.
Well, you could
So
break it.
the job is about to be posted. We got about a year to find someone.
Oh, dude.
That's
Oh,
cool.
I'm not breaking a lease. That's too much money I don't have.
Oh, gosh, I got to rethink things if the lease is the only thing.
You just have to set up a contract too.
The contract
Yeah,
is
that does sound bad, right? Like,
Yeah.
the lease is the only thing holding me here.
no.
I haven't visited Prescott enough. I've only been up there twice, so you got to stick around. For a while.
You should come hang out for longer than like a weekend.
I know I should.
I mean, I know that's kind of a lot because you're
The hard
You
part
could-
is
you could
the hard
stay
part
in
isn't
Quail
even so much
Hollow.
work. It's the boys' school schedule and things like that. So
Yeah.
that makes it a little tougher.
That's true, because you guys are that one car life.
One car life. Not even that. Just
You should get a motorcycle.
I should.
There you go.
Mm.
Full
That's the reason
circle.
right there.
Well, I'll talk to Laurel.
Perfect.
You should get a motorcycle, come out here, and then we'll go riding.
I would love to ride in Prescott.
There's great roads around here.
Good times.
Yeah.
So can I answer any other questions?
Last
I don't know.
thing I have for
Yeah.
you, and
Yeah.
how do you
By
feel?
the way, I love all the Billy love on the last couple podcasts. So it's an honor. It's an honor.
Right? When Jonathan mentioned you and said that, I was like, "Wait, do you even know?"
Do
you
you
know
know
who Billy
do you
is?
know who he is?
You don't know
Why
Billy
do-
like
why
we
do you
do.
want him
My-
to like you?
My favorite thing about last time I was at camp, I was up at is it Summit?
Springs. I
Summit
think.
was my camp in Springs.
Oh, I was up at
is
Springs,
where
okay.
Travis
Up at
was.
Springs, and we had just parked our car, and we were gonna do a little tour. And there's a golf cart of tech dudes.
Yeah.
And they
Full.
slammed on the brakes and did a hard left and drove up to us. And there's these people going, "It's Billy! It's Billy!"
Billy,
And I
Billy,
was like-
Billy.
I was like, "Wow, that is
You have a fan.
amazing."
You have a fan club.
Yeah, you made it.
Yeah.
That was a full
Apparently.
golf cart, too. That was like the 3 biggest dudes on the
Yeah.
team.
Was you?
Yeah.
We're
And
not
then
small.
Giles. Who was the fourth person?
I
It
feel
was
like there
one of
might have
the
been-
production guys.
I feel like the golf cart might have gone on 2 wheels as it turned.
Yeah,
You know?
no, it stays on those
It was
two
As
aggressive.
soon
wheels.
as we saw you, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
aggressive.
Yeah.
We have priorities. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
So-
good.
Last thing I want to talk to you about is I noticed you have a lot of blue on.
I do today. Yeah.
How are you feeling? Are you guys going all the way?
Well, here's the thing about baseball.
Talk about the Dodgers. for the record.
So just the visual is I have my Dodgers hat on and I have a T-shirt that says Los Angeles Dodger baseball. Here's the deal about baseball. I've watched so many little league games with the kids and into high school with one of my sons that anything can happen on any given day.
Yeah.
And the day you think you have the best pitcher could be the game that is the worst, and the day that you're like, man, we probably lose this one because so and so's pitching, could be the day you win. So we're down 2-1.
2-1.
We still have a 7-game series to play. We got 2 more games at least in Dodger Stadium. So, we'll make this happen. I feel like Milwaukee's really good, but they're young. So
Yeah.
if our veterans can just play within themselves and not freak out, which like Justin Turner went 0 for 4 a couple of games ago, and then he came back and hit a
Yep.
2-run homer in the 8th to win the game. So they just got to bring that day's game to the game and not worry about what happened in the past. I think we can go to the World Series, and I hope we can win. I don't know.
Yeah.
But-
My only fear is that I don't know if the Astros have moved on yet or not. But
They're still good too.
My fear is gonna be a rematch, and we're just gonna fall on our faces again.
Well,
I'm
but
just
here's
gonna
what I
cry.
hope happens. Here's what I hope happens.
Mm.
The Red Sox, I think they're 2-1 also now, right? So the Red Sox are competing. They're not going to just sweep them. And the more we can tire out the bullpens, whether
Yeah.
it's the Brewers or the Astros, and the more our starting guys can go deep. Like I think Bueller went 7 innings last night, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that limited how deep we had to go into the bullpen. So if we can keep their bullpens busy and our arms are better and we make it to the World Series, then we might have a better chance to go. But it's a tough game, man. It's the hardest thing to do is hit a round ball with a round object. Is that what it is?
Yeah, coming at you.
And the
You know,
sports
100 miles
science
per hour.
sign.
And then you got to
Yeah.
watch out for your knees.
Does ESPN still do the sports science segments? Because those were the
I
best.
haven't seen them as much.
I feel like that was very like 2008.
That
Yeah.
guy used to start on Fox. He actually had a show on Fox about sports science. And my doctor in Huntington Beach, Dr. Basil Aish, he was actually a contributor
This
from
is
time to
true.
time on the sports
Interesting.
science. So
Who doesn't?
So it was
know,
good time.
You know?
That's the thing.
Okay.
Hey, Billy, do you know any welders that would be willing to drive out to Prescott?
say that one more time. Any what?
Any welders that want to drive to Prescott?
Did you say welders? Like
Yeah.
WELDERS?
Okay,
Yeah.
there's some context.
Yeah, we need to build our pocket filled with like random people that can do random
Oh,
jobs.
So
Yeah,
don't know what's
Just
happening.
when there's stuff to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Gosh.
He's actually gonna think of some.
Yeah.
The only one that pops into my mind is our SpaceX friend.
You
But
know
he's,
someone?
He's busy,
Well,
and we
I was
haven't
gonna
talked to
say-
him in quite some time.
I would say Code
Tamla.
Red Ward.
Yeah, Code Red.
Code Red
He
Ward.
works for
that's his,
SpaceX.
he works at SpaceX as a
Mhm.
machinist, building the components that put the rocket ship components as a
Okay.
machinist. He's one.
What?
Would he
Why are
do
you looking
stuff
at me like
for
that, Nate?
free?
Because you know these people.
But I don't know them well enough to be like, hey,
So?
come hang out with me for 2 days and do this.
But Barnum will be like, "Hey, Tamla said you know how to weld."
Yeah.
And he'll talk to him.
I'll be like, yo.
I'll talk to them.
There's another dude in Huntington Beach that I think taught welding at the community college, like more of a retired kind of guy.
Ooh.
Mm.
That might be more the kind of speed that you
I
need
know.
to,
So we can
to
fly them
connect
out
with.
from
I
LAX.
don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't even. I mean, I'm acquaintances with him. I'm not like super tight with him, but
So here's the
Um,
concept: is we were talking the other day.
Shark
we're-
Tank.
Well,
the other person I was going to say though, Tamala, is your uncle Caleb.
True. I forgot he does all that.
that's three
But he
people,
lives-
Tamala.
But
But- he lives, like,
in
way-
Illinois. He lives in Illinois.
Okay.
Way over there.
Yeah.
I,
Well,
But
do a
the-
family reunion. I
Can I
can't.
just
That's
tell you?
true.
Can I just tell you about Caleb?
Yeah.
So my
Friggin'
dad
love Caleb.
grew up in Nebraska and learned how to weld and build engines and all this kind of stuff, which served
So-
him great on the mission field. Yeah.
So, have you guys seen
Just raised your hand.
I'd like to speak now. My turn.
Have you seen Logan Lucky? That movie?
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Driver.
It's been
So
a
it's
minute,
Adam Driver and Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum's character, when I saw it the whole time, I kept thinking about my Uncle Caleb. To paint a picture in your brain.
Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
Yeah.
Got the picture.
And then if you want to paint a picture of my dad, the guy from Hank
King-
Hill,
Hank Hill.
Oh.
Propane and propane accessories. That's my dad. That's
These
my-
are two great pictures to be like
Yeah.
thinking about.
so
Your family's starting
growing-
to make a lot more
growing
sense
up-
to me.
growing up with my dad, I was the guy like, hey, give me a 1/2-inch wrench or give me this socket.
Mm.
But I didn't watch what he was doing
Yeah.
with those tools,
Oh.
or even desire to want to know. Probably. My brother, he's 10 years younger than me, the youngest family. While in high school, bought a Chevy pickup, took the back end off of it, and put like a work truck back on
This
it.
big
He
old red
converted
truck.
it, yeah, like a worker box truck. Took the gas engine out of it, converted it to diesel, and basically through all that, took it down to the frame and rebuilt it during his junior and senior year in high school, just in my
Wow.
dad's little, our garage at the house,
Just cause.
just because he could. And I'm like, I don't even trust myself to fix the brakes on my car because I don't want him to fail and
Yeah,
somebody to
I
die.
still take my car in for an oil change. I don't want to do that myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I make
So-
Justin do that. I don't.
So yeah,
pay for
Uncle
it, but here
Caleb,
you go.
Uncle Caleb, that's the guy.
Justin does it?
Justin changes the oil in my car. Yeah.
That's the most manly thing ever.
Yeah, I didn't.
Congratulations.
He fixed his brakes too
I
last
love
time.
that guy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So
That's a good
I'll
one.
have to think on that welder thing, but I think what you need to do is market to, like, I think you're on the right track. You need to market to your supporting churches,
Yep.
and then be like, hey, let's do a work weekend, and we'll give you some good food and put you in a scenic place, and we're gonna work 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
See, that'd be great because then they can't complain about our stage.
sure.
Well,
Hey,
you
built
helped
this,
with
so
this,
you can't
so-
complain about it
You
anymore.
built the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Oh,
the
man.
concept comes from
Exactly.
because I remember when I was working at the crossing, we had one retired guy that knew how to weld, and he would do all of our
Mhm.
set designs for us, and only
Yeah.
charge us for supplies maybe.
Yeah,
So
Interesting.
we're looking for. That.
I like the idea or the concept of welding, and I've tried a few times, but I wouldn't trust anything I could
Yeah,
weld.
I wouldn't let anybody walk under anything I would weld. So.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, I don't know. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about this guest call-in? I feel like the vibe of the podcast has changed a little bit.
It's different. I
I-
kind of like it because the
I-
versatility.
I like it because I don't think, based on the episodes we've done so far, we've only done like 2. If you count Maisie's, and it's 3. It's the last episode. But like we don't have a
topic where we stick to every week. So I feel like it makes sense because we're already so free flowing, just to have like a random person just to talk.
Yes.
I think this one was the first one where we're like, oh, we're gonna ask Billy this. Like we knew what we were gonna ask. But
I mean,
I did not know that.
I knew I was. Well, we did.
We did.
So I was like, I just need to talk to him about this movie.
And we needed to talk about nerd stuff.
Yeah. Good. Mission accomplished.
Yes. So, we'll probably progress from here. We'll decide what we want to do.
Figure it out.
This is really Tamala's podcast, so.
It literally started out as a joke with this dumb mic that Chris has.
So you thought.
We got it for, we had a neighbor who donated a lot of stuff. And I was like, this is my new podcast mic. And they're like, okay. And the next thing I know, like, Chris is over here, like, setting up, like, stuff in the corner for me.
Gave her a rig.
I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, no, you're going to commit to this.
You have to do the podcast. I'm like, it's going to be like the vlog. I'll do 2 episodes, then I'll stop. But
no, it's mounted to your desk. You're not stopping.
I freaking love this. It makes
I was
sense.
gonna say, I feel like you're 2 USB mics away from just being all in the USB.
Yeah.
world, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Which would be
in the
way
middle.
better because this is not working.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why I'm surprised that I love the podcast so much, because I listen to podcasts all the freaking time.
So I never did a podcast because obviously that's something a little more. But do you remember
the drive-through nativity and the Christmas radio?
So literally we were in a mobile trailer similar to yours, except it was literally like a toy box trailer, you know, like
toy hauler,
you guys.
So background story, drive-through nativity, literally what it sounds like. 9 scenes tell the story, birth of Christ, and people would line up.
Live actors.
4 hours, 3 nights a week. In December, people would drive through.
Our gift to the community.
Yeah. So it's the tradition. And so when I was little, they used to do the radio show, and eventually they backed it off. But
so for about 5 years, we would set up in this toy hauler. People would wait in line for 2 hours, and the line would go around the block. I bought an FM transmitter and like a kind of homemade antenna, like a kind of homemade kit.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it wasn't legal to FCC standards because we were broadcasting over a watt. We were like right at a watt, which doesn't sound like a lot. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you could hear it like 4 miles away clearly.
Yeah.
So what we would
like
do
driving the 15 minutes in, we would change it to the station and be like, okay, well we heard it at this point, and like that was the thing every night we drove in.
Yeah. So we would literally, it would be usually the senior pastor, myself, and a couple other people, and people would just come in and out during the shift. We'd talk to the animal people, like, hey, how are things going with the animals?
In between scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I think I want to say it was like Robbie Pate or something interviewed me. As strange as that sounds.
So
probably
the only thing I really want to know is what was your character?
Oh, so the time I was interviewed, I was in the Hail Caesar scene. So I was like a townsperson. So literally, I would go, Hail Caesar! And they go, by the order of Augustus Caesar, Emperor of the Roman Empire, blah, 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 blah. And then once it's over, you go, Hail Caesar! And then the lights dim. So I was in the Hail Caesar scene. I was Mary in the traveling scene. And Joseph, I'm tired. I feel weak, blah, blah, blah. I was Mary at the innkeeper scene where I was like, I don't think I said anything in that scene. I think it's just Joseph and Innkeeper that talk.
Yeah, you just like, you nod your head.
I was a shepherd when the angels come down. I've been a shepherd. I've been an angel in the final scene where you do like, so when I was younger.
Hallelujah.
So when I was younger.
Hallelujah.
Okay, hold on. The image here that we have going on, I've never seen Tamla so perked up during one of our podcasts.
Yeah, no.
But to talk about herself in these nativity scenes.
How old were you?
So, when I was, I think like 5 was like the youngest I started, and then as I got older, I moved on to the different roles per se.
When you're 5, you're like a shepherd that sits on a bale of hay and
or you're like in the Hail Caesar with your mom.
Just kick your feet.
So when I was a kid, like when I was really young, throw back to Becky Jensen, my OG babysitter that we love and sing. The final nativity scene was 2 stories. So like there's a platform where the angels would stand on, and they would do like they would do like the hand motions to the song. But finally, when I was old enough to be an angel, so I had to be in junior high, they got rid of the 2 platforms.
Of course.
And so like,
do you remember why?
I was just on a little riser off to the side doing it. Like, I only did it for a year. I was not about it.
She literally just stood up and did it and did the motion.
So the backstory
and they shortened the song by half.
Somebody designed like this 2-story
like
frame, kind of like a facade. So you had like the baby Jesus and Mary and Joseph down below with the hay, and then you had the angels on the roof, I guess, basically.
Oh, nice.
One year, and it had like vinyl backing, like to create the look and feel of what it was. One year we got this horrible windstorm, and this thing was heavy, and the wind lifted it up off the ground about a foot while people were on it.
Oh wow!
And I remember
dang.
grabbing my knife, and I just went up there, and I cut through all the vinyl siding, so that the wind couldn't take it.
I vaguely remember that.
And then the next year we got rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow,
Do you know who
the height of the radio show was about 3 or 4 years, where we did for 2 hours live interviews,
And the rest
telling
was
people
just
what they could
Christmas
expect.
Yeah.
Had some like pre-made Christmas bumpers. Hey, you're listening to Drive Through Radio with the jingle bells in the background and stuff. And then we would just kind of tell people what they could expect, what was happening over Christmas at the church, interview people that were involved, and thanking them for being involved as volunteers. And one year we even set up a wireless, and we had a guy that would go out to the cars and talk to people in their cars.
Oh wow!
Like, hey, how long have you been, is this a family tradition? How long have you been in? Oh, we've been doing it for 15 years. Awesome. Hope you're having a great time. Stuff like that. But basically it felt a lot like a podcast, except we were broadcasting live to radios in the neighborhood.
I think the reason why I'm so excited right now is because the Baker family, we don't have a lot of traditions. And our traditions tend to lie around, like, ministry things. But, like, that was, like, the one thing that when I had, like, night classes in college, I was so mad about because I couldn't go. But, like, that's, like, the one tradition we really had for, like, the longest time. But, yeah,
that's quite the hefty tradition.
Yeah, it was epic. It was great.
So, okay, to tangent slightly here,
All right.
We've been mentioning getting a lot of this equipment from a really nice garage sale lady. She gave us this big Sony camera, this XDHD camcorder.
Okay.
More or less. And Tamla shared with us this.
I know what's up.
She had explained to us that you would walk around and you would do your home videos with something very similar. This is. In its day, it was a really professional camera.
I only remember this actually happening on 2 like solid occasions: Austin's 8th grade and me marching in the parade.
Yeah, so mine was never that big. What we had was the Panasonic 24p cam.
It was like missing this part, but it was still pretty big.
Okay.
It was a Panasonic. Somebody gave you that, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really hot like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
It's still good technology. So I forget what it was called, but it was a little Panasonic 24p, and it recorded on mini DV. So that probably puts it. What Austin was in 8th grade? What, like 12 years ago? Something like that.
It was 8th grade for him was 08. He was in his graduation year was with the class.
Yes, so like 10 years ago. And so I had one, and I wouldn't have done this if he was just graduating 8th grade, but he had a speech. I knew he was going to talk. So the highlight for me wasn't that I had that cool camera. It's that cool camera had XLR ins and outs.
Oh, dang.
And I set him up with a Sennheiser little G3, Lav, and packed him up. And I was just hoping I wasn't going to stomp on any frequencies. Like, I didn't do any frequency checks or anything. and being that it's 8th grade, they probably didn't turn the mics on until right when the thing started. So I was like, man, I hope I don't jam anything. But I got lucky. He gets up. I'm still quite a bit away.
Hang on. What would you have done in that situation? Would you have owned up to them and apologized afterwards, or would you just have shut it down and said a word?
You just keep going.
The problem is if you think about a wireless in this situation, Austin would have had to shut his pack down because he's the one transmitting. And I put him. I had like an elastic Velcro band, so I put it around his waist, kind of like a FBI wire kind of thing. And I kept the mic. I kept the mic under his shirt, so like you couldn't see it, kind of incognito. And he went up and did a speech, and I'm sitting at the other end of the gym, getting a good video. But better than good video, I have crystal clear audio of his speech.
Amazing.
I'm gonna have to find it. I think it's on Instagram.
It's on
or Facebook,
Facebook, or it's on the blog, the Baker Press.
When we had a blog.
Tamla,
Baker.
How long have you been doing this?
.blogspot.com.
That is the Baker.
My wife started blogging, and then we kind of took it over.
Woo!
This is incredible.
The Baker Pressbox.blogspot.com. It is still active. It is still up. I will pull it up.
Is it updated?
Oh, it has.
No,
I'll tell you when the last
post
post was.
on there since like Facebook became a thing.
He and it was like the family friend group. They had like nights where they would all just blog at the same time. So it's almost like a Reddit or like a comment section on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And just like I heard you say, you guys committed to doing 2 podcasts a week. I was like, I'm gonna do 2 podcasts or 2 blogs a week, and I tried to incorporate pictures and what is it when you call back in the day when you hyper link. I would hyperlink words.
Sorry, I lied.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is-
yeah, yeah.
it is-
So
it
you can
is-
click on it
You
and
can
go.
click on it and go.
It is bakerpressbox.blogspot.com. Know that. And March 31st, 2010 was our last post on modern parenting, where Mom took a photo saying, "Travis, clean up your mess or go to timeout," and she texted it to us because we were babysitting him.
Nice.
There it is.
2010.
So there's our digital history for a couple years.
Yep.
Wow.
Right there.
All right.
They were
So-
very active in the blog
Wait,
scene.
So
go back
just to wrap up that other story,
Keep going.
I don't think Austin was a fan of me
Keep
saying,
going.
"Hey, I'm going to put a wireless mic
Yeah.
on you while you give your speech," but he's the firstborn and wants to please, so he went with it.
That's
I think if I
Travis.
tried to do it with the other kids, they were like, "Nope,
They'd
not
freak
going to
out.
do
You,
it."
you mic'd me for the parade.
I forgot you were in the
when
parade.
I marched in the parade. Yep.
That's right. You were playing the flute, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Summer band. There you
Good
go.
times.
This
Here's
is
us in
good
Montana.
times.
So yeah,
She's showing us this blog page right now,
it's all our glacier posts.
and it's just really fun.
You guys can go through that
to
later.
look at.
So bakerpressbox.blogspot.com.
Wow.
Okay.
Bringing it back.
Bringing
We'll
it back.
Anyways.
Maybe I'll put a post tonight. Maybe I'll put a post tonight.
Oh man.
So what I'm thinking now is that we're going to use this camera to film these
Oh yeah.
film these podcasts.
From the-
Yeah.
that's true. We have the live
'Cause you
stream
could-
box. We should need a live stream.
Yeah, we
Really
can't
go real
because
fancy.
we can't use this for like cinematic imagery, but this is great broadcast
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
style. It's sharp.
Hey, and the other thing, think about 10 years ago. We didn't have all the things we have in our phones now.
No,
Yeah.
no way.
So it's like I needed a camera, I needed a calculator, I needed all the little things we just take for granted now.
Mhm.
Those are all separate
Yep.
entities that we had to have.
And they were really expensive.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Oh man. Okay. Well, on that note, it is lunchtime,
It is lunchtime
so
here in Prescott.
we're gonna say goodbye to the
peace
one and
out,
only
everybody.
Billy
It's been a
Baker.
blast.
Dude, thank you so much for joining us.
Twitter at HBSoundGuy, Instagram at LVSoundGuy, and
I need to update that Twitter one, don't I?
and
Probably.
bakerpressbox.blogspot.com.
Hmm.
My name's Tamala.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Nate.
Yo.
And I'm our special guest, Billy.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been-